Hello and welcome to a brand new project for the channel. This time, this project has been inspired by a recent trip I took to Belgium and to the town of Ypres, which was infamous in World War I for those devastating battles there and in the surrounding countryside. In this video, I'll be showing some of the pictures and the videos I took whilst over there, including some of the incredible museums with displays and exhibits from the Great War. For me, it was really a bit of a pilgrimage to be in these places I'd often read about in the history books. But first, we'll have a look at the project. So the kits I'm going to primarily use for this project are from Copper State Models. They're 5.3cm Gruson Fahrpanzer, and a couple of figures that they also sell, resin figures, a couple of German infantrymen from the First World War. I bought the Fahrpanzer kit last year with the idea for this project, and I wanted to incorporate a kit and figures into a book. This was something I'd done a little similar a few years ago with, ironically, another World War I diorama. The book was set on top of a piece of wood. I cut holes through it for the trenches, and then the groundwork and the details were added. When I was in Ypres and in the Flanders Fields Museum, which is in the cloth hall in the town, I wanted to find a suitable book whilst I was there to use for the project. They seriously had a huge selection, loads of books to choose from, and in the end I opted for The Road to Passchendaele, and this was mostly due to the pictures that it had inside the text, but most of all probably was the thickness, so I could build some trenches into it. The problem was, having read through some of it while I was over there, I really liked it, and the stories that it had to tell, it really is a nice book. So once I got back home, I went on to Amazon and managed to get a hardback version of the same book from them for half the price that I'd originally paid, so I didn't feel so guilty for having to chop into it. So let's have a look first at the CSM Fahrpanzer kit itself. As usual with CSM, the instruction book itself is a great source of reference information and always has really clear instructions. Inside the box itself is 3 bags with 4 sprues in total, and these are to build the armoured body and the carriage. The instruction book has a number of reference photos at the beginning to give a sense of how this gun was used, either mobile or dug into the trenches, which is what I'm going to be doing. What I like about CSM's books is each piece in hand for each section is highlighted in blue. The doors I'm going to have are going to be in an open position, not closed like these, and so I've actually ordered some 3D printed ones, which we'll look at in a moment, which hopefully have a little greater detail in them than the ones in the kit. The Fahrpanzer can be attached to a carriage if desired, and then I think there's an additional horse and ride that you can get from CSM. But that's not what I'm going to do with this one, as I said, but I'll still build it anyway for some future diorama. Here you can see the small interior of the gun, including painting references and those doors with the tools. And here you can see how the carriage looks once it's assembled. Then those additional details you can order off CSM website. I've ordered, like I say, the doors and also the complete and used Gruson shells, which again will add some extra detail to the finished model. And these were only €5 per part, so they're pretty good value and not too expensive. So the gun went together pretty simply and easily with no major issues. What I'm going to have to do though is build it as sub-assemblies so I can paint the interior first before gluing it all together, adding the doors, etc. But all that I'll do in the next video. Here you can see a rough guide for what it's going to look like. It's really pretty small, and to think that 2 guys actually were cramped up inside of there, it must have been pretty tight. So before we go any further in this video and do some provisional work on the book, I'll show you what inspired all this in the first place by my trip to Ypres and Flanders and the incredible history that it holds. Enjoy. So I've done a little layout, as you can see, a rough idea of how I want my German trench to look like, using some images and photos to give me some ideas. The Fahrpanzer is going to go there, like that. I'll have duckboards running through, like this. I have a firing step here and over here. A little dugout dug into the bank here, and just here there'll probably be some sort of storage or maybe a sentry post or something. The passageway, like I say, will just run through, and I'll have my two copper stake figures there and here. The height of a soldier is roughly about 2 inches, so the trench floor has to be at least 2.5 inches deep perhaps. This book is 3/4 of an inch deep, so I need roughly another 2 inches or so of depth, adding to build up the height. So I'm going to recreate the trench system on a piece of card. Cut the outline around the pages once they're all glued down, and then I can separately build my trench on this piece of card and work on it, building up the height separately to the book itself. I recently got a really great piece of packaging foam from a new mirror, so I'm going to cut around the book and then use 2 or 3 layers of the foam, build it up depending on the height that I need. So here I've got the 2 layers of foam with a wooden base just to stabilize it, and altogether it totals 2.5 inches from the base, the wooden base, to the top page, so that's just about perfect for the height and the depth that I need. So the first side is done now, up to page 244, and now for the trench side. Once it all dried, I was, to be honest, a little bit disappointed as the pages weren't smooth but had ripples in them. Not like the first book I'd done a few years ago. However, these pages, they were made up of a different type of paper, they were a bit more waxy, but I guess I just have to live with it. I gave my trench base an undercoat and decided to also add a casualty and a shell hole on the opposite page, just for, again, a bit more detail. This skeleton was part of a spare I had left from a 2-piece Verlinden set. I found it much easier to cut the pages a section at a time. It took quite a while, but I got there in the end. The corner section came out in one piece, which was actually quite good, so it wouldn't get damaged and I could put it back later on. The skeleton, he broke up a little bit whilst I was removing all the excess resin, but that, to be honest, wasn't such a bad thing. It meant I could position him in his shell hole a little bit better. So this is where we're going to leave this video for now. I've taken a number of online images to help with the trench design, mixing some variations like we saw in the Passchendaele Museum that had the wooden branches on one side of the trench and the planks of wood and firing step on the other. A lot of these trenches at the time, they were messy, busy, waterlogged places, so I also want to try and include some of that detail in my trench too. I'll continue with all this and the trench build in the next video, as well as taking a closer look at the German infantrymen figures that I'll be using. I really hope you've enjoyed watching. Please leave a like and any comments in the section below, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part of this build. And I'll also put some links below for Copper State Model's website, as well as some of the museums I visited. The last one at Passchendaele was exceptional and it was really worth the visit. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.